Everyone just think back to the last time you felt joy. I mean, the energy of joy and the energy of joy without any help of any man-made product, such as alcohol or substance. So you just feeling joy for just being alive. I just want you to share that in the chat. When was the last time you felt joy and why did you feel joy? I think this is a really important conversation to have. We'll get into it a lot more. Yes, it's a very, very important topic. Welcome to Life Force Canada. I am Karen, and we are here to keep you tuned in, tapped in to your true self, your sovereignty, and really reclaiming our authentic power. If you're new here and would like to become a member, please sign up at our Life Force Canada website. We are going to be up leveling this fall, so we have so many exciting things that are in the pot stirring up. Before we get into our topic of discussion, Karen Hanna, she has an update for you. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I'm just going to share my screen. I just want to let you know that we've made some updates to our Connect page on the website. So if you go to the menu at the top, click on Connect, you'll find the links to all of our websites and Telegram groups and whatnot here. As we had announced last week, we're no longer holding our weekly Zoom forum calls. However, you will find the links here for the Telegram group. So there's lots of active participation. Again, go to the Connect tab in the menu at the top of the website. And of course, you'll find the provincial groups listed on here as well. So that's the Connect page. Yeah, that's all I have to share.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, we're creating lots of changes, important changes as we move forward. Yes. Oh, Karen Hanna, I love this. Early this morning in my yard after the gentle rain, I experienced joy. That's beautiful. Yes, Esther, having people over, connecting with family and friends, eating, laughing, playing games. Diane, that's lovely. Spending time with your grandson. Love it. Sherry, yes. You're also spending time with your grandson. Beautiful. How many of you recognize my background? I'm actually staying at Sandra's home at the moment. She's in Victoria, and this is where she would always sit every Monday. Yeah, I'm very blessed to be here. Okay. So again, before we get into our topic, I want to share with you how, remember when I was talking about activating our heart toroidal field, using that energy to protect your body and your home from lower frequencies? Okay, so I have a story about how powerful love is. Love is the key, we know this. This is what you're going to be training and moving into as we proceed in Life Force Canada, because it's going to be really important to learn how to activate your heart energy, especially when you come face to face with authority figures in the future. So I was in New York many years ago. My brother and I, we invented a game called Get Talking. It was to help people overcome their fears and to express the truth. It was all about imagination. It was really powerful. Anyway, we had a booth at the New York Toy Fair at the Javits Center. And every day we would have to walk back to our hotel. I believe it was about 8 New York blocks. And we always took a different route so that we could explore the city. Anyway, this one evening we were walking and we heard this commotion up ahead. And we're kind of looking, what's going on? What's going on? And we saw this group of men and they were holding up banners on this busy street corner and they were protesting. However, they were very angry protesters. So, to give you some context, they were preaching that the true Jesus was Black and that he was going to be coming back and killing all the white people. So, I had never seen anything like this in Canada. And of course, neither had Dwayne. So, I was really excited. So, I said to Dwayne, let's go check it out. So we stood there listening, and they would be shouting at passerbyers. One Jewish lady came up to me and she said, "Why are you listening to them?" And I said, "I find this fascinating." And she just shook her head. She didn't realize that I was actually conducting an experiment. I was standing there and I was focusing on my heart, on my energy field. And I started to send these men love. There was about 10 of them, I guess, all together. And I just consciously was sending them love as they were preaching their hate. And I noticed the leader, and he came up to me, and two other men followed, and they all stood right in front of my brother and I. And they were saying that if it was dark out right now, that they would take me into a back alley and rape me. They looked at Dwayne and then they said that they were going to rape his wife. All he said to them was, "She's not my wife." I stood there holding my ground because I knew I was safe in this field of love. And I just continued to send them love energetically. And it was this beautiful green, emerald green energy that I just kept seeing. And they continued yelling and quoting the Bible and saying that the Black people are now going to be taking over and there's going to be no more white people. And I said to them, "Do you know what human means? The word human." And it was amazing because they said no. And all of a sudden, everyone was silent. I mean, you could hear a pin drop on that New York City corner. And so I said to them, the word Hu, H-U, means God, and man means of earth. And you could just see them putting the two together. God, gods of earth. And they just shook their head and they continued to tell me that I deserved to be beaten and raped, etc. And then they took their focus off me because there was so many other people. And one lady started yelling at them, and a man started yelling. A Chinese man started to yelling at them as well. And about, I would say, not even 5 minutes later, I noticed something amazing happening. The three main leaders, they were big, tall men who had the loudest voices, walked back into their group, and they were now leaning up against the brick wall. And the other men in the group who were smaller, they were now standing at the front, holding the Bible and, sharing their truth. And I just continued to send love. And it was amazing that they were just silent now. They were silent and looking at me. And it was incredible. I knew these men could not handle the energy of love. They could not be near me. They had to walk away. They had to stop what they were doing. This is our power, my friends. We're going to be using our heart power to vanquish the dark forces around ourselves, our body, and our homes, and our communities, our sovereign communities. I'm really teaching the power of our brilliant heart in my Together We Rise course. So remember, as a soul, we have chosen to play this game we call Earth in this 3D matrix. We have chosen the quest, we've chosen the challenges to truly remember our authentic power that we have. Right now, the matrix of this 3D reality that we live in has really captured has captured humanity into a frequency of fear. And that's keeping everyone in a spiritual prison of forgetfulness. And as I mentioned in that email, in the movie 1984, right, the first scene showcases the words, who controls the past controls the future, who controls the present controls the past. So by us clearing out the past, we become present. And when we're present and we stand in our sovereignty, we stand in our authority, then we are going to co-create a new and powerful and beautiful future as we move forward. So it's very exciting. Thank you, Dylan. Yes, Katika. It's incredible. I've actually witnessed, there's a park in Mount Royal, and I would sit in this park and I would do the same thing. So I would see a couple arguing, yelling at each other, and I would just send them love. And I just kept sending them love. And they were quite a ways, they were on the other side of the park. And within moments, they stopped yelling. I would do this with smokers. I would see somebody smoking and I would just send them love. And I would see this beautiful emerald green energy and it would just surround them. And all of a sudden I would see them putting their cigarette out. We have incredible power. Okay, so now that said, you're here to take control of your past so that you can control your future. And as you gain self-mastery of the moment, then you're going to release the burdens of the past. And this is really going to allow for the heart to activate. And where do those burdens live? They live in your mind. Our burdens live in our imagination, and we have been using our imagination against ourselves way too long. And why is that? Because we have been entrapped, right, it was the entertainment entered into the mind, control of the mind. We're watching movies and television shows, etc., and all those images go into the subconscious mind. And we don't think that those movies are affecting us in any way, but they are. They have trapped us. And so we need to begin to allow for new imagery to be put forth into our mind. Imagery of a beautiful future, right? Seeing yourself in joy, seeing yourself in prosperity. Right now, we're constantly hearing about financial collapse. We're hearing about, the fall of humanity, etc. And every time we hear that, it can create this stress and tension in our body. Right now, we know what's happening. Like, we know the truth. And so now our role in our life right now is to really focus on what brings us joy. It's really, really key. Again, if you're angry with someone from the past, this is the time right now to start focusing on the power of forgiveness, the process that you need to go through. If you've got regrets, this is the time now to begin shifting your perception and begin to see, right, that there's nothing we can do about the past. It is just in the mind, and we need to begin to learn how to truly shift our mindset. If you do not do this inner work, it's going to negatively impact your life, and you're going to suffer, and you do not need to suffer. No one here needs to suffer, because we have the tools, right? We're stepping into learning more about how powerful we are. So we need to prepare for what is to come, and that preparation includes rising up and living in joy. So as you know, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about the Maui fires, right? They had the fires in Kelowna, etc. And we know that if any disaster happens in your community, we trust it won't, but if it does, that you cannot look outside of yourself, outside of your community for support. We know this. So this is where we are going to be boots on the ground in our own community. We just need to focus on supporting each other. It's going to be really, really important. Okay, I just wanted to talk about the pyramid of manipulation. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because, of course, as we know, we need to unplug from all of the systems, the political system, the legal system, the education, the medical. It's very challenging. You know, it's easy to say that, but how? How do we do that? And especially when you have family and friends who are in those systems, right? You have family and friends maybe that are in oil and gas, for instance, and they love their job. They think that they're doing great work. You know, we can say that we have a corrupt government, but the pyramid of secret societies is mirrored in all of those systems, right? Including oil and gas, every other organization and institution. So we may, again, have family or friends who work in these systems, and we know they're good people. Yet many at the bottom are kept in ignorance of what is really going on at the top of their selected profession. They do not realize that at the top are those who worship Lucifer. So only the few at the top know the real agenda and what that organization is trying to achieve, which is, again, the destruction of humanity. So again, the further you go down the pyramid, the more people are working for the organizations, but the less they know about the true nature of their company. They're only aware of their individual job that they do every day. They don't know about how they are contributing to the demise of humanity. And it can be challenging to even fathom the idea. And it's one of the reasons why the elites, you know, the blood families, the bloodline families, it's one of the reasons why they created this pyramidal structure. The hierarchy is because everything is compartmentalized, and every then department has no idea what that department over there is doing. And again, the only ones that know are those bloodline families at the top that are worshiping Lucifer. For example, if we look at public schools, they've been promoting the one world agenda for some time now as being the advantage for humanity, right? It's going to be the way we step forward to create a unified world community that will put the end, you know, an end to poverty and war. And of course, we all know this is not true. And so we need to get our children out of the public school system as soon as possible. That predictive programming has been, you know, to accept that future. And so for those of you who have children, small children, or you have grandchildren, I think that would be a really great topic of discussion the next time you're around them, just you know, for curiosity's sake, you know, ask them about what they're learning in school. And, you know, if that's one of the topics that they, you know, their teachers are sharing about the world community. And then let us know what their response is. I would be curious myself. So we know that they've created a really toxic world, and the more we let go of toxicity in our lives, the more joy we're going to be experiencing, right? Okay, so everyone take in life force energy. We're letting go of the idea that we're breathing in any toxicity. Going into a higher perspective that we are breathing in life force energy. Always and in always. In a moment, I'm going to talk about joy first, but in a moment, I'm going to be asking you what you are letting go of, because I think it's an important topic to have right now. And when you share what you're letting go of, it inspires other people to let go. For instance, I let go of drinking coffee and shifted over to Dandy Blend. Laura Jane has done the same thing, but there is ways of being now that we need to start unplugging, right, from that pyramid of manipulation. Like, how are you unplugging from that pyramid? And it's the smallest actions that really make a difference. So we'll have a Q&A in regards to that, and so that you can share. That'd be important. Okay, let's talk about joy. How can anyone even entertain the idea of joy in such a crazy time, right, in human history? There's inflation and post-pandemic stress and trauma. People are on the edge. Say this with me right now. Joy is not found in the material world. It is a mindset. So we need to start cultivating joy, as depression right now is really skyrocketing. People are struggling with financial concerns. It's all that projection, right? It's that pyramid of manipulation. They're not focusing on the power that we truly have to manifest a beautiful world. And it's that subconscious feeling that the programming, that predictive programming that's been created to keep everyone below the line, right? And that the subconscious mind feels the agenda, but is not quite sure what it is. Again, it's a spiritual prison, so to speak. So focusing on what we do have makes a big difference. It's those still moments in which we feel really present and alive, are what make life really worth living. And so there's a few people that shared what brings them joy. And if you haven't shared in the chat what brings you joy, I highly recommend you share that in the chat as well. Joy, again, is adopting a new mindset, a freedom mindset. Joy is a choice. It's an inside job. We can be happy in the immaterial world, all right? You can be happy because you got a new car or whatever, but joy comes from within. We're moving out of the law of cause and effect, and we're moving into choice and effect. So every choice you make is either going to negatively or positively impact your life. So our choices really determine the power that we have. So every day when you wake up, every day is a brand new clean slate. And it's really important to become aware of the choices that you're making every moment. And are those choices truly bringing you joy? So we can choose to take control of our lives and manifest the power of our decisions, or we can choose to do nothing, which again is a choice. A lot of people are doing nothing, expecting other people to make the changes in the world, and that's not how it works. We need to really begin to start taking action in our own lives, and then taking action out in community. And sometimes we don't understand the impact of the choices that we're making every single day. So there's habits, old habits that maybe you have right now that your soul and your higher self are saying, no, in a new earth, you will not have this habit. And you're being called right now to step out of all these old habits. So say to yourself, I am choosing the power of joy. I'm choosing the power of joy. Joy is your connection to your soul, right? It's eternal. And I'm not saying you're going to be experiencing joy every single minute of every day, because there's going to be moments where you do drop below the line and you need to feel into your shadow, absolutely. But do not let reality out there take away your joy. They're going to do everything they can to do that, because their goal, right, is for you to not remember your divinity, and your divinity is joy. And I get it. Sometimes you may have physical pain or you've experienced loss. And if you notice those who have suffered the loss in the fires in Kelowna or Maui, you've probably seen videos, right? Many of them are choosing to change their focus on what they lost and are focusing on helping others. So again, in those moments where you're not experiencing joy, focus on what you can do for others, and what you can shift into for yourself. Okay, so joy is a powerful choice that we need to start cultivating every single day for us to manifest our sovereign communities, for us to manifest the new earth. It's going to be key. Okay, we're going to switch over and step into Q&A, open forum. Thank you so much for being here on a holiday Monday. Yes, selfless service, Linda. Thank you. Yes, Randy, sitting on your patio, looking at the garden and being with trees brings us joy. And now the abundance of Mother Earth as our garden shares its fruits and vegetables. Beautiful, yes. Trees bring me a lot of joy. Just saying hello to trees. Okay, please raise your hand and let us know what you're letting go of. It can just be one simple thing. For instance, I have let go of all my plastic containers. I don't have plastic containers anymore. I just have those glass containers now. This is about weaning ourselves off of white sugar. John Robbins talks about white sugar is referred to as white death, leading cause of heart attacks. Weaning ourselves off of big pharma, transitioning over to homeopathic remedies, right? It's like, what are you letting go of and what are you open to exploring as a replacement as you let go? Yes, Virginia, use jars for years. Beautiful. Environmental plastics actually leak toxins into our food. Go ahead, Laura Jane.
Oh, thank you. It's very simple, but one of the things that I am releasing and getting rid of or letting go is gluten, just in terms of for my own skin and health-wise. So it's been about 2-3 weeks now that I've been gluten-free. And it's feeling pretty good. And that plus my Dandy blend that I've discovered I like better than coffee is quite interesting. So yay.
That's fantastic, Laura Jane.
Yeah.
It takes time to wean ourselves off of something that we've, a habit or a food that we've been eating for maybe decades.
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up in a household where bread was every meal and pastries. I had a tea room bakery, so it was a lot of gluten in my life.
I get it.
Yeah, for sure. But it's all just part of the decision to live in my body more, because I always was spiritual and very good with the mind, but it's just coming into the body, and so honoring it and giving it the fuel it needs. Yeah, so I'll yield.
Thank you, Laura Jane. That is excellent. Yay. And yes, I have not used a microwave in years. I actually use my microwave to store all my lasagna or my casserole dishes. It's always been a storage container. Steve,
Good evening. I'm a practitioner of 30 years. I do massage, acupuncture, iridology, nutrition, dowsing, all sorts of things. I find that on our journey, we will gravitate to one or the other, the mental, emotional, or the physical. It's just kind of human nature. We'll go down one pathway. Rarely do we go down both pathways. They are interconnected, so you're going to, if you work on your physical body, you will help yourself on a mental, emotional level to a degree. But yeah, that's what I've witnessed. Some people, they work so much on one, but the other lags behind. So they need to work on both eventually. Like I personally worked on my physical body. All my life I've worked on that, but it's only really in the last, I'd say 10 years that I've worked on my mental, emotional level and started to recognize the power of the mind. So I want to bring up a story. I like telling stories because they're powerful. So I had this woman on the table getting a massage, and when the opportunity arises, I like to talk about the organ connection with the body and how we need to nurture our organs and how the organs can manifest certain signs and symptoms and conditions and aches and pains and so forth. And so we were talking about cleansing the kidneys, the filters of the body, the kidneys, liver, gallbladder, and so forth. And this woman has 3 daughters, and her youngest daughter of 14 may have to have her gallbladder removed because she has gallstones. And I was pretty shocked. I had never heard of anybody of that age having to have their gallbladder removed. So anyway, we have a quiet time. I continue doing my massage, and then I start opening up my mouth again and start talking about the mental, emotional connection to each organ. And I started talking about resentment, anger, and irritability associated with the liver, gallbladder. And then she starts telling me about her and her husband deciding to go on a vacation alone about 7, 8 years ago. And they had arranged that all 3 girls would stay with different people in 3 separate homes. And the older 2 girls were fine with it, but the youngest girl was not. And she was somewhat traumatized. And she was quite affectionate before they went away, but when they came back, they found that she was much less so. Well, this is the girl that has the gallstones. So I said, okay, well, here's what I would do. I would sit your daughter down and have a chat with her. And I would say, do you remember when your father and I went away on vacation? And I acknowledged to her that you know it was very difficult for her and that you want to apologize and ask if she could find it in her to forgive you. And so this is a teenage daughter now, and the daughter was trying to push her off, saying, Mom, what are you talking about? That was 7 years ago. You're being ridiculous. Well, a week later, the mother's in the kitchen making supper, and the daughter's in the other room. The unaffectionate daughter blurts out, Mom, I love you, out of the blue. And the daughter was freaked out about it because it was almost like somebody else was speaking for her. So the power of the mind. And that issue was still festering in that little girl. Because I told her to put your finger on it, acknowledge it, because it's still there, and recognize it, apologize, and ask for forgiveness. The key word is forgiveness. It unraveled it. And I bet you that little girl's not going to have her gallbladder removed now.
Beautiful story, Steve. Can you lower your camera? Because we can only see your forehead.
Oh,
There we go. Much
that's
better.
probably because I had no shirt on a minute ago.
It's all good.
I didn't want to be inappropriate.
Thank you.
Isn't that a great story?
It's beautiful. And
Power of
yes,
the mind, eh?
yes, and tuning into the energy that is in motion within ourselves, all the energy that's alive inside of ourselves is really powerful to transmute and
Yeah.
all disease, right?
Yeah, well, you know, these negative emotions of anger and resentment, they're like a poison, but they
Yes.
have an antidote. The antidote is forgiveness and gratitude. And those things were not taught. We should be taught those in school.
Yes, I agree. Gratitude is the cousin of joy. Thank you, Steve. That's a great story. Appreciate you being here.
All right. I yield.
Virginia, go ahead.
This is the rusty part of the Rusty Virginia, because I'm here with my sister. We watch it together on Monday nights, and sometimes we're separate. But yeah, this is the rusty part of the sister team here. So it's
Alright.
thankful for you. And I want to touch on a bunch of points, but fairly quickly and succinctly. In that I loved your story about sending love to the Black men in New York. It reminds me of a story that Virginia tells about an axe murderer that goes from farmhouse to farmhouse, and she can tell the story much better. So maybe she'll tell that in a bit, but it's a beautiful story, and yours was just a beautiful modern day example. Then for people who have a hard time giving up their microwave, I've been using a steamer for years. I've never used a microwave. In 2003, when I was diagnosed with cancer, that was really the relationship I was in and wasn't any real other cause for it. I read a book by Jane Plant, Your Life in Your Own Hands, and she threw out all plastics. She was told she was going to die, get her life in order. She had metastatic tumors erupting from outside of her body almost that she could measure with her earth calipers. She was a geologist. Then she eliminated all dairy, all plastic from her life, and put in iodine and kelp, seaweed. That for me was a clincher. I got rid of all plastics. That was 2003. I've been using jars, and food lasts longer in jars than it does in plastic. It just does. Some like broccoli will last better without a lid. Spinach lasts better with a lid. So those kinds of things. To get rid of the microwave with the steamer, anything that you want to heat is just fabulous. You get your water up to a boil, or if you want to walk away for a while, put a 15-minute timer on and put it on medium low, like 3 would be, you know, some people, if they got a 3 for the heat, you can put your food in a porcelain or a heavy ceramic bowl in the top part of the steamer and walk away for 15 minutes and come back, and it's totally perfect. Best way to make oatmeal on the planet: soak the oatmeal the night before, then steam it the next morning. You don't even have to stir it, worry about it ever being burned on the bottom of your pot. Lovely. It tastes like Granny's oatmeal that way. I went offline this weekend and stayed in the tent in the back 80 acres of the farm that we live on here. And I organized my book, and that gave me immense joy. Esther's partner said today when he heard me talk about it, I said, could you talk about something that really excites you? He was being sarcastic. I'm super joyful about that. I didn't see a way that I could get that done without a block of time. And now that it's organized into categories, I can see how I can do it in small blocks of time. So I'm super thrilled about that. And that is, also Open Box in Calgary, we don't have an Open Box in Edmonton, sells a steamer that is all glass and stainless steel. It's a lovely steamer. And then a common friend of Esther and I, she has a big pot that is about the circumference of a really good sized stock pot, and then a glass thing that fits in the top of it with the steamer holes in it, and she can use that on her stove. So those are the two best steamers that I've seen out there that are not plastic. They're just wonderful. So those are some resources for people that want to let go of their microwave and still want to have food that's perfectly heated, moist, so moist, because microwaves don't do that. And I read the research that microwaves are just not, good for us. They do things that, take away some of the nutrients in food. So I just want to support people that want to give away their microwave, because I like steamed food much better than anything a microwave can produce. So if you want to hear the story from Virginia about the axe murder, I can yield and turn it over to her.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah,
need a
sure.
new steamer.
Yes, and if you're reheating food, it's the best way to reheat food because it doesn't dry it out, it keeps it moist, and it makes it perfectly hot all the way through,
Mhm.
So-
Just to follow up on what you just said, you can also use a double boiler. And if you have any little glass bowls that fit in the double boiler, you can heat up leftover food in a double boiler with a bowl in that as well. But I wanted to share a follow up on what Steve was talking about with the young girl that was 7 when her parents went away. And then he said it was 7 or 8 years later. I've been doing genogram work for 40, 50 years. I taught it to myself from my own healing. And if you don't know what genogram is, it's a diagram of the generations. So you can have 3 or 4 or 5 generations. And when you see the history of the generations, then you're able to zero in on things like that. Like I can find things that are causing people difficulties because it is an anniversary of an event. And being she was twice the age she was when her parents went away, she was right on schedule to have an issue with it because it hadn't been released from her body. So we can find it by numbers too. I just wanted to share that.
Yay, Steve.
Yeah, catching that and getting the mother to do exactly what was needed. It was awesome. And as for the story about, I loved your story, by the way, about the men and sending love. Just gives us such a good example of what we can do, sending love. And the story is a true story. It's about a man who was in an insane asylum and he escaped. And this is way back in the early 1900s. And the woman that told the story was the granddaughter, and she happened to be able to stay with her grandparents. And this particular night, she was able to sleep with her grandmother because the grandfather was an itinerant preacher and he was sitting by the bed of somebody who was dying. So he wasn't home. And she woke up to her grandmother's hand over her mouth, so she couldn't scream. And because she was clamping her mouth shut, and the grandma was talking to a man standing above them with an axe raised. And the grandmother was saying to the man, "You look cold and hungry. Why don't you go and cut us some firewood and I'll make coffee and something for you to eat?" So the man lowered the axe and went outside and did exactly as grandma asked him to, got some wood, brought it in. She made a fire, she warmed some food, made him a coffee. And then she said, "I'm going to make you a bed behind the stove where it's warm so you can get dry," because it was raining out. And she said, "We're going to go back to bed." And that's exactly what they did. In the morning, the man was gone and they were going about their morning, and the sheriff and posse ride into the yard and they're just exhilarated, like so happy to see that grandma and the little girl are alive, because in the next house over, 4 people are dead.
Wow, amazing.
Killed with an axe. And I often tell this story to people because they say, "Why do you think grandma didn't get killed and the other ones did?" And they have all kinds of answers. But the true answer is the man wasn't killing the people. He was killing his own fear, because he saw fear in them and he did not see it in grandma. He saw love, compassion, but he didn't see fear. So he didn't have to kill the fear because that's what he was suffering from.
It chokes me up every time she tells this story. Just
So you're so right. We are so powerful. And I just really love that you're giving us so many reminders about that this evening. I've been thinking about ever since you told your story, because I have a friend right now who let me know that her roommate has gone over to the dark side and is attending a Satan church, and that she's really holding a good space and energy. So I've been sending my love and energy over there and compassion, and my angels too, to keep her safe and give love into that space too, because she can't just up and leave until she finds a new place to live. It's a roommate.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, both of you. That is such an incredible story. And we need to hear more stories like that, you know, to show and for us to really comprehend the power of love and compassion and how we can truly transform our lives in incredible ways. So thank you
That
both.
would be a great collection of stories to actually do that, assign all of us to go and try to find one of those stories, because you're right. The more we can build those stories, the more we can actually live out that truth with ease.
Yes, great idea. I love it. Thank you.
Also,
both
the
of you.
story you told also demonstrates you weren't showing fear, which they would have started
Doing-
energy stealing from your fear, and you
Yeah.
didn't have that, so they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Plus, you were sending love, which was confusing their energy.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Oh, there was one more thought before I totally yield. Is Dr. Caroline Leaf writes a book, Switch on Your Brain. And for anybody that's having a challenge with killing those ants, the automatic negative thoughts, she has a 5-step program to reprogram your brain. She says that we have the power and the tools to do our own brain surgery through our own thinking. She's an amazing author. Amazing, amazing.
Beautiful. You can add that in the chat. That'd be great.
Yes, I will. And thank you so much for every Monday night. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Beautiful. I love it. I do believe that we're going to be facing everyone out there, whoever your soul is drawn to face, to release fear, to remind you to step into love. And as we do this inner work and stepping into forgiveness and stepping into those shadow aspects of ourselves, then we're going to begin to see the transition where they can be threatening to kill the animals, but we leave it there. We leave it there as a threat only. It's not a follow through, because they can't follow through when we're in a different frequency. This is very exciting as we're stepping into the new earth. On a side note, Mark, I highly recommend a wooden salad bowl. Linda, go ahead.
Great conversation tonight. So much being shared that's really helping me right now. I'm going through a lot of changes. And in the past, when I've gone through changes of uncertainty, it hasn't sat well with me. And right now, I'm actually feeling excited for my future because I'm giving up on my corporation. Our registered
Yay.
Yes, our registered care aid numbers were there was a cyber attack, and I bloody well know it was probably done by our very own powers that be. They wanted to know who is and who isn't working in the industry that's registered. And because we don't have to renew our registration every year, at this time, they don't have any control over us so they have nothing to hold back. Once you get your ticket, you have it. So anyways, and I have been great service to a family for the last 5 years. And the lady has recently passed away, but before she did, I was on the front lines in our healthcare system. And oh my God, it was one of the worst places to be. I found myself, I was full of anxiety because they almost injured my lady. I don't know how many times. And I kept saying, I just told you about her injury and what you were just about to do. You know, so it was a really really trying time for me, and I went through it okay, or so I thought, and I went away and had a little bit of a break. But since being back, this huge void, this woman had been 80% of my life. I was supplying meals and whatnot for her, but I've been of service of other people at the same time, so I was grateful to hold on to those people. And unfortunately, due to probably the big V, another one has passed away. What I've been noticing is how the love and everything, what I've received from this family and what has come my way has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Everything from free counseling to singing bowl treatment and just friends within this community of freedom people that have became my friends, and now it's so much more, and I'm in this network of a healthy community, which I'm absolutely loving. And yet I'm probably going to leave Canada for a while. Just I think it might be easier to watch what's about to happen from the outside for a bit, and I don't know if I'm going to come back right away or not. But anyways, so I just thought I'd mention how much joy it feels to me right now to have all of this support from all of you, from my community. And this has been growing in the last 5 years, really, for me. I mean, I've been on a great journey so far. I've got my yoga ticket years ago, went to India. I still meditate daily. I do Kundalini yoga. As a matter of fact, my wage went up the day they shut us down because I was willing to only travel from a certain place to a certain place. And so they said, oh, good, if you're going to do that, we're going to pay you this much. And so everything went up for me and changed actually for the better. And I think part of that reason was because I just loved my way through the whole situation. Like you were saying about sending love and changing the situation just by being the love.
Thank you, Linda. Your sharing is beautiful. And yes, we are all here to be blossoming. Thank you so much, Linda.
Okay, thank you.
And remember too, we're letting go of the words person, citizen,
Yes.
resident.
I know. Person, citizen, and what?
Resident.
Residents, yes. Yes, well, that's what they call everyone in the old folks home where one of my clients was that recently passed. And they're residents.
Yes.
That's how they refer to them. And it's hard because you walk in the door and say, I'm looking for, the lady with the gray hair.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I do know that in Calgary, there is a place here that you can take, old computers, microwaves, electronics, or whatever, and they recycle them. So if anyone here wants to just junk your microwave, then take it to one of those places where they can recycle it. That would be an awesome idea. True.
Hi, everybody. A couple of things I wanted to share. One is in relationship to your story about, to give you another example, but your story of being in New York City and being confronted and, axe murderers and all that sort of thing, is that many years ago in the 70s, I worked with street gangs in Toronto. And there was a time when I was walking into a large park near Casa Loma in Toronto. There was a whole tribe of these guys with tire irons and chains, and they knew I was running a coffee house out of a church on Friday nights. The alpha male and the tribe came walking towards me, and the alpha male was shouting at me and basically being very intimidating. And I tried something which changed the whole situation, which was that I went up and instead of standing facing this alpha male, I went and I stood beside him. And I began to talk to him empathetically with respect to the world that he was seeing through his eyes. And it completely diffused his anger and his confrontation towards me. He realized that I was not, how sometimes if you look somebody in the eye when they're angry, they take your look as confrontation, as something that they're going to fight back against. So the fact that I went and stood beside him and just looked out at the world beside him, there was no confrontational energy being exchanged. It was more of an empathic kind of exchange, and it just changed the whole dynamic. So I just thought I'd share that. I also was able to use that when I worked in some psych hospitals and things like that too, with violent patients. There was something I wanted to share, which I had to smile while Karen, you were speaking in the beginning, and a number of things that you were mentioning. I decided I was writing something today because of a friend of mine who put a post up on Facebook, who has practiced Zen meditation for many, many years, but he was expressing his dismay at the fact that so many humans were not doing anything about what's going on, and the indifference and all that sort of a thing. And he was, and his final words were, I've never seen anything like this in his life. And there was something in me that just wanted to communicate to what he was expressing. So I wrote this, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to read what I wrote. And it's called Humanity's Current Spiritual Rite of Passage. And it goes like this. Our consciousness is currently experiencing an unprecedented bombardment, tearing at the very fabric of how we have hitherto identified ourselves to be. What we have historically accepted and identified as normal and familiar no longer provides us with any clear guidance as to how to reclaim our sanity and soul essence. Since so much of what we have trusted to be the truth about society, governance, education, and so much more, now it just looks like a big piece of Swiss cheese. The holes can't be simply filled in with clever innuendos, excuses, and indifference. It must be discarded because the foundations have been corrupted, and this corruption has been going on for many centuries. We have been ingeniously seduced into passive acceptance through ongoing viruses of fear. Fear cripples the mind and exacerbates our emotional center. It is a strategic form of torture which reduces us into obedient automatons. Despite how traumatizing, painful, and confusing everything we are going through is, it is a gift. Due to our forgetfulness, it is a hard-won gift because of our resistance to seeing through the maze of so much self-deception, which has been entrained into us, as well as by our complicit involvement in perpetuating it. We are the chaos and suffering we see, and we are the light and love we need to transform and transpose the tragedies of our human story into an idyllic realm of Elysian beauty. This is a time when full disclosure is so needed to shock us out of mundanity, out of that mundanity of repetitiveness, of being asleep to our true Empyrean nature and illustriousness. Waking up can be a harsh fire, but it flickers into the sacred heart of a fire burning within each one of us. We have always carried the flame of joy and playfulness within us, just as our children so beautifully and chaotically demonstrate. It is not our nature to be so compulsively ordered and controlled. We are meant to dance in the playground of life. We can reclaim what has never been lost. We have only been lost to our forgetfulness. Our liberation lies buried deep beneath the conventions of politically controlled definitions of social acceptability. We are so much greater than that. So shed the shackles of shame and thinking that you are not good enough. We are all divinely and lovingly endowed. All that we are going through right now is our spiritual rite of passage. It is a death and rebirth, which can only be experienced through the free will of an awakened mind and open heart. So we must choose wisely and compassionately. Love thyself. Such love will show us our way back into the arms of a harmonious and loving humanity. And I just want to say that Joy, I did a house concert about a week ago, and it was lovely to see you there, Karen. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And as much as it always gives me joy to share songs and that really amplify the heart, the most enjoyable part was hearing the feedback from people who came up to me afterwards and what they shared about what opened up inside of them. And to see that light in their eyes was an extremely joyful experience. So thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you, True, for being here and always sharing your wise words. I believe that everyone always takes something home with them to really ponder and to reflect on. So thank you. And yes, last week I did share about your amazing celebration of song and dance and laughter. It was just incredible. And I wasn't able to say goodbye to you because my dad and I have a standing 8 p.m. Sunday call. And you were still singing beautifully. And it was like 5 to 8, so I had to leave. But yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I saw your little wave.
Yay.
Goodbye.
Thank you, True, for sharing. Eka,
Hi, Karen. How are you doing?
I am feeling joy right now for being with all of you.
Great. I'm deeply touched by all what everybody is sharing here. It's so beautiful. And I would like to add on to what Steve already started so beautifully. So I would like to share an example of one of my patients, and it's a young child, 7 years old, and her parents came in to the clinic because she was diagnosed with diabetes type 1. They were in the hospital because she crashed completely. And they were really desperate not to have her ongoingly on insulin. As we all know, it's, not clean. So we looked into what was creating out of nowhere within the last 6 months her diabetes type 1. So that was in February this year. And we came to understand that the parents went through some struggle between themselves, as well as they placed the child in a daycare. What we did is we used homeopathy, change in nutrition, and hypnotherapy for the child, as well as just making the parents aware of the personal needs of their child. And certainly they love their child, but with the stressors of today's days, sometimes that falls in behind, utilizing some TV or anything to just soothe out the children. They have questions. Now, long story short, the child was within just days completely regulated on her blood sugar. She never used ever since March any more insulin. She is completely clean, completely healthy. The doctors cannot explain why diabetes type 1 completely got reversed. And that's just one of so many examples where when you have homeopathy, when you work on the emotions as well as on the physical health, you are in charge. You are not lost within this system. You can actually manage and handle whatever it is It's so beautiful. And don't be afraid of it. Just reach out. There are so many people that are just like myself, homeopaths or practitioners like Steve, and that understand the connection between nourishing your body and your soul and your spirit on every level, and not to be in fear, but literally to feel joy. I mean, I have here right now 6 baby puppies and 2 adults that are making a chaos in the room.
Aw. Mhm.
Laughing.
So thank you for sharing that story. And yes, we're all on that journey right now of the integration. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. I'm just going to start with a meditation right now. Thank you for those who were here this evening, sharing your brilliance, your truth, and your light. We adore you. Your heart is felt. Thank you, all of you, for being here. So deeply appreciated. Stephen actually is going to be taking everyone on a meditation. He is incredible being, and you're most likely familiar with him because he presented Safe Water Canada a few weeks ago. And yeah, I thought it would be just a wonderful idea to have him share a powerful meditation with everyone. Thank you, Stephen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Karen. I'll just invite everybody to just find a comfortable spot. And the meditation that I'm going to be sharing is one that is neutral, but one that is particularly important at this time so that we can train ourselves through this practice to attend to whatever thoughts might be arising, and then just to recognize that we don't necessarily need to personalize them, that we can just cultivate some observance skills with them so that we get to a place where we see these as actors that are simply entering the room, and that if we just sit and observe, that they will of their own accord just leave again, because thoughts are generally conditional. They have their momentum, and the continuity of the thoughts is dependent on our feeding them or validating them. So in this quiet place, we're just sitting comfortably. The back doesn't necessarily need to be straight, although it is helpful. And I just encourage you to bring the attention onto anything in the body that you're aware of. It could be the sensation of your sitting posture. It could be the sensation of your breath. And the observance of it, whatever it is the object in that moment. So in this practice, we're not trying to get anywhere or accomplish anything, but rather we're just observing what's happening in the present moment without any attachments, without any preferences. And the body is a place that is perfect, because when we come into contact with any sensation in the body, it's a confirmation that we are, in fact, in the present moment. So this acceptance of what is in the present moment in the practice is something that the mind is not naturally accustomed to. We haven't practiced meditation, if we don't make it a regular point of prayer or silent contemplation, and then the mind is trying to go to some pattern that it's familiar with. But in fact, this practice is just to be present. some point, when a person practices in this way, there would be some things that stand out, most notably the breath. And if your mind is falling onto the breath, there are 2 points of contact that you can observe. One is where the breath contacts the nose tips. As the breath enters, we may observe just the sensation of the air touching the nose. We just want to keep our attention at that point. So as the breath is in, we may notice something about the breath, that it might be cool, as an example. And then when it leaves, that the temperature may have changed, that it is now warm. It's not something so specific other than it's just a reference point. For the entire time, we're just aware that this is the present moment for us. And if the mind is wandering as it's been trained to do, we simply just note that it's wandering. Like the character coming into the room and we're sitting there. The other door is open, we just let that pass through and bring our attention gently back to the breath. So when this is repeated and the mind becomes familiar with it, it's something that we can rely on and go to at any time, regardless of what the external circumstances are. And just reconnect with that stillness. This then begins to create the foundation for truly experiencing contentment. We don't need this moment to be anything other than what it is. Practice is beautiful in that it provides a mirror for us to see what the conditioned tendencies might be, how we might judge ourselves or treat ourselves if we find that the mind is running around. And that the real practice is just this opportunity to let go. Come back into the present. through this simple practice of mindful contentment. This mindfulness is like a gift to our immediate environment, to people who are nearby, in the busyness and stress. They observe and they can feel the spaciousness of just contentment. I'll just close off with a loving kindness recitation that I find to be quite helpful, has a bit of a cadence to it. And if you'd like, I can just post the words in the chat and what the benefits are of this practice. It's a recitation that was suggested as a regular practice by the Buddha. And it goes like this. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Thank you and bless you.
Beautiful, Stephen. Thank you for your offering this evening. Abundant blessings to all of you. Together we rise.
Thank you. That was so beautiful tonight.
Such wonderful sharing. Thank you.
It was, wasn't it, Esther? Thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you very much.